And so it once again falls onto the utensil to navigate the silly, the stupid, the downright absurd, and to point out the errors and missteps of the plebs. It has been 12 days since Roe was revoked, and Biden is still MIA. Instead of the political and moral leadership the moment demands, Biden has offered a politics of appeasement. Yeah, that sort of happens when you have a congressional majority thinner than Biden's non-existent fucking hair. It's been 12 days since the Supreme Court handed down its decision in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization and overturned the constitutional right to abortion. Woo! So far, Stewart Joe Biden has reacted to that news with one speech, not even a primetime Oval Office speech, but a middle-of-the-afternoon press event that didn't allow for actual questions. Well, he doesn't ever fucking do that anyway. During which he said he stands with women. Evidently, he didn't mean that literally. No, because he needs drugs too. We have not seen Biden physically stand with any of the people who have been protesting the court's decision, and he evidently didn't mean that figuratively either. We have not seen Biden echoing, amplifying, or even agreeing with calls for immediate action to protest reproductive rights by people like Senator Elizabeth Warren or Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Cori Bush. I didn't know using abortion as a form of birth control counts as reproductive rights, but then again, I'm not that morally reprehensible. Some might argue that 12 days is not enough time to develop a fully fleshed out federal response to the revocation of the right to bodily autonomy for half the population. But I'd point out that it has been 65 days since the Supreme Court's draft opinion in Dobbs was leaked to Politico. Perhaps some people wanted to believe that the decision wasn't real until it was announced, but the federal government should not be extended the luxury of sticking its head in the sand when it was forewarning of impending doom. That's quite apocalyptic language right there. Indeed, the revocation of abortion rights has been more than theoretical for at least 308 days. That's when Texas's infamous Senate Bill 8, the bounty hunter bill that has effectively outlawed abortion. Okay, no. Effectively there is some deceptive bollock wording. If you look at the actual law, which this sneaky wench is not going to point out, but I, as one of the XY variety and therefore with more integrity, will. The bill says it is an offense to get an abortion past the detection of cardiac activity, which is roughly around the 6-week mark. Now, ladies, if it takes you past 6 damn weeks to get an abortion and you've done nothing since then after you let someone bust nuts inside of you, you're an irresponsible idiot. The tragic irony, of course, is if it takes you 6 bloody weeks to notice something, you probably shouldn't have a kid in the friggin' first place. At the time, Stuart Biden promised a whole-of-government response to what he called the unconstitutional chaos of the Texas bill. So far, we've seen a lawsuit filed by the Department of Justice that was dismissed by the Supreme Court before the ink was dry on it. Good, and nothing else from the whole rest of government. But even before then, every Democrat has been on notice that reproductive rights were under dire threat. 656 days ago, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. That's when everyone who was paying attention knew for a locked fact that the Supreme Court would take a shot at overturning Roe versus Wade. Based. Biden wasn't yet president, and he still isn't, but since taking office he had 532 days to prepare to address the threat. And in that time, his administration has done nothing. Nothing to protect reproductive rights, nothing to blunt the power of the courts to take them away, which the courts did not do. And nothing to set up backup protection for pregnant people. Women! Only women can get pregnant because only women have ovaries and a womb and produce eggs. And just to point this out, that is not transphobic. Phobia means a fear. This is not fear, this is basic biological reality, you subversive gremlins. To access services we knew the Supreme Court was going to take away. For the Biden administration to come into office without a clear plan and strategy for this exact situation is executive malpractice. Republicans were ready to take advantage of the Dobbs decision the moment it came out. By doing what exactly? Why weren't Democrats ready for countermeasures? Okay, now, I need to explain the nature of political reality in the Democratic environment here. I would say you can boil it down to 2 phrases in this instance. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sure, we're all familiar with that one. And if it is breaking, wait till it breaks completely and then use it as a campaign issue. We can see this right now with Warren saying, oh, if only we can get 2 more Senate seats, then we can codify abortion. I'm actually going to do something horrifying and defend Biden here. Not because I want to, but because it's fair and I'm honorable. These people had years to codify abortion. But they didn't. Why? Because they had Roe versus Wade. They didn't need to. Politicians will never do any work they don't need to if it doesn't benefit them ever. Now that it's been overturned, they have something to run on. So to suddenly give Biden shit for something the Democrats had years to do is fucking absurd. Now, it doesn't matter that all SCOTUS did with the overturning of Roe versus Wade was kick it to the states and say, this is not a federally protected right. It will be decided by state representatives, who you can vote for. You actually have to use democracy now to get policies passed. Oh, what an archaic idea. It is hilarious that all of these protests and shrieking banshees are all in blue states where nothing is gonna change. Whereas most of the pro-lifers who are in red states are female, who are in favor of the restrictions or bans. They are happy with the decisions of their state representatives. I've noticed this from reading articles. You will see journalists, if they advocate for something, the left-leaning ones anyway, they will always cite polling data if they have any. But should it be a red state who has the majority who are in favor of something they oppose, oh, then it's certainly, we must protect the minority from the fascists. Fuck off. Now, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this is true, this is just my take. Democrats don't give a flying fuck about abortion. They really don't. What they give a damn about is having an enemy and something to campaign on that isn't a self-inflicted wound. Look at the current state of the United States. For the Dems to have something to campaign on that isn't of their own incompetence, something they can blame Trump for, oh my word, this is a drug for these people. These politicians do not give a fuck about the population, the state of the country, or anything. They are completely disconnected from the average person. All these people care about is staying in power. They campaign as problem solvers. They don't solve problems. They work themselves out of a job. There is no incentive for them to actually govern well. These people want chaos and destruction because it can be configured as justification for increasing the scope of their power, and that's fucking it. You can see this with the shootings the Yanks have. The political reaction is always about the guns, never about the factors that produce those shooters. Look at them. They always have a couple of staple markers that conform to a certain type. Broken homes, drug abuse, social isolation, or alienation. Always at least two of those. Will that ever get addressed? Of course not, because they want the chaos. Batshit crazy solutions require batshit crazy fucking problems. Same with the black on black crime. That is a permanent campaign issue. Why rock the boat? Politics in this realm is a balancing act between how much chaos can we sow and use as campaign issues versus how incompetent and corrupt can we be while still maintaining this facade of doing something. All the while marching towards a totalitarian state. It's funny, I read all books from, say, the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they all predict this kind of downfall in democracy, over 100 bloody years ago, and that is why you don't neglect old books, people. And that is all for today. I will see you all next time.